Hello viewers, this is Daily Politics and I'm your host Hamza Idris. The Supreme Court has postponed its decision regarding the Kano governorship appeal following the completion of hearings from the parties involved in the case. Earlier on November 17, the Court of Appeal upheld the election tribunal's ruling unseating Governor Abba Yusuf of the NNPP and announcing Dr. Nasiru Gawuna of the APC as the new victor. However, discrepancies emerged when the certified true copy of the court's decision surfaced 4 days later, leading to confusion over inconsistencies in the findings. Take a look at this report as put together by Shafiu Suleiman.
The ongoing legal battle for the top job in Kano has entered its last lap as parties in the appeal before the justices of the Supreme Court argued for and against their submissions to prove their case. The appellant, Abba Kabir, wants the Supreme Court to set aside verdict of the appeal court, which affirmed his earlier sack by the State Election Petition Tribunal.
Well, there was only 2 arguments that were in the appeal. The issue of membership of of our candidates, that is the engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf, which was a settled principle of law. This Supreme Court has settled it. The issue of membership is non-justiciable, is no-go area, is an issue that has to do with the party.
There are 9 appeals filed in this appeal. Of course, the Supreme Court collapsed all the appeals into one. That is the one filed by Abba Kabir Yusuf, the candidate. And that appeal was taken. All the other appeals will abide. Arguments were canvassed, briefs were adopted, and the judgment has been reserved by the Supreme Court.
The Apex Court will also deliver a verdict regarding the controversy around the discrepancies in the appeal court's certified true copy of the judgment. The Supreme Court has, in a similar circumstance, reserved judgment in the Bauchi State governorship election dispute between Senator Bala Mohammed of the PDP and his APC counterpart, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja. Also, the President Bola Tinubu administration, in self-appraisal, says the government is winning the war on insecurity, thereby improving the quality of life for Nigerians by ensuring safety and security across the country. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, made the submissions at the end of year news conference in Abuja while restating the commitment of the Tinubu administration to reposition Nigeria's economy by revitalizing key sectors. Here are more details from that event. Showcasing the success story of the government so far, the Minister of Information and National Orientation says the removal of fuel subsidy, forex unification and tax reforms are aimed at stimulating economic growth to enhance the living standards of the people.
The Central Bank of Nigeria also commenced efforts to clear the billions of dollars in inherited foreign exchange backlog in order to further boost investor confidence in our economy. Under the Renewed Hope agenda, the Central Bank of Nigeria is determined to focus on its core mandate of price stability and financial system stability for the benefit of all Nigerians.
Mohammed says to guarantee food security and revitalize agriculture, the administration is making substantial investment and engaging experts in addition to providing incentives to boost the sector.
As part of the plans to boost food security in the country, the Federal Minister of Agriculture and Food Security flagged off the cultivation of dry season staple crops in Hadejia in Jigawa State. This project falls under the National Agricultural Growth Scheme, Agro Pocket, through the support of $134 million loan facility from the African Development Bank to expand the capacity of our farmers to engage in the cultivation of key staples like rice, maize, cassava, and wheat across Nigeria.
While justifying the necessity of unpopular decisions taken by the government, the minister says the administration is mindful of the ripple effects and impact on vulnerable Nigerians, adding that measures are being put in place to cushion the effects on the livelihood of Nigerians. Meanwhile, economic indicators in the country such as hyperinflation, growing unemployment,
increase in pump price of petrol and declining purchasing power continue to prevail as Nigerians await solutions. Shapiro Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And to matters around the state of the nation, President Tinubu on Wednesday approved a 50% slash in the price of interstate transport fare for Nigerians traveling during the Yuletide from Thursday, December 21 to January 4, 2024. This is as the president approved free rides for commuters on all train services within the period. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, announced this to State House correspondents at Asorok Villa on Wednesday. Alake says Nigerians willing to travel can board public transport via mini-buses, luxury buses at 50% discount of current cost, and all train services currently serve at zero cost on their travels this season. However, is this enough to alleviate the hardship by Nigerians? This is one question that many people are asking. And on Thursday, the federal government confirmed the initiation of operations at the Port Harcourt Refining and Petrochemical Company in Rivers State. It declared that the facility commenced functioning on December 20, 2023, marking the completion of the initial phase of the work at the plant. It also noted that refined petroleum products will commence flowing from the refinery after the Christmas break. Throughout the year, the government had consistently affirmed that the Port Harcourt refinery will kickstart operations before the close of 2023. Senator Heneke Lokpobiri, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, who led the refinery steering committee for an inspection of the facility, extended congratulations to Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, for this achievement. But another big question is, how soon will Nigerians begin to feel the trickling impact of this development? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. And to help shape tonight's conversation, I have joining me on the program this evening Dr. Umar Buba Binder. He is a former national coordinator at the National Social Investment Program. He joins us virtually from Yola in Adamawa State. And also joining us all the way from Kano is Dr. Aminu Hayatu. He's a senior lecturer, political science department at the Bayero University, Kano. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Yes, maybe to start straight, Dr. Binder, let's start with you. Of course, you are in Yola, Adamawa, but you have heard what happened at the Supreme Court, which is our first story here. Do you think that governors or parties who are actually facing a lot of litigations in courts are finding it easy governing their people?
Well, thank you very much. It's a very important question for this stability of the politics in our country. To look at all these election processes and value chains as part of our lessons to ensure that in the future, we must also find ways in which we do our best to be as transparent, as accountable, as logically organized, so that we can conclude these elections very, very quickly. If I was a governor and I'm involved in all these litigations, certainly I will not be peaceful. There are three levels. First of all, the losing party will take you to the tribunal. The tribunal will get the facts and then sit and then give a verdict. Whoever loses there, if he wishes to, will appeal, then more time, then analysis is done, and then the appeal court will decide, and then you go to the Supreme Court. All that period sometimes takes maybe 9 months to 1 year. And this is it's not healthy for our politics. But I mean, that is where we find ourselves, and have to cope with and learn from it.
All right, thank you, Dr. Binder. Yes, Dr. Aminu, you are in Kano. What is your take on what happened at the Supreme Court today, and how is the mood in Kano?
Thank you once again for having me. Actually, any observer would have noticed that the whole scenario, ever since it started from the tribunal up to the Court of Appeal, and now up to the Supreme Court, there is a lot of apprehension, associated with the whole process, because the issues right from the beginning were very complex and somewhat difficult to understand, by the common man. It was just after subsequent interpretations by different lawyers after the sitting of the Court of Tribunal that, people began to understand the nature and dynamics of the cases. But in general, the mood of the court today is that each side, of the contenders is showing some level of confidence that victory will be theirs. And that is what we live to see, because some of the reasons presented in the court, especially by the appellant, shows that they are confident that some of the reasons that were earlier quashed that they gave in the Court of Appeal would now be considered in the Supreme Court. And the other party of the APC is saying that no, what the Court of Appeal actually, the judgment given by the Court of Appeal was apt and is going to preside even in the Supreme Court. So I think that although a lot of drama is associated with that in Kano State, because supporters of these two sides have always attacked each other, in the media, in the public space, saying that there is an attempt to influence the judiciary, and the news going around of the lack of confidence on the judiciary. But what is left to be seen is how the Supreme Court judgment will go, and it will go a long way, in juxtaposing, what is obtainable from the judiciary. But I know in the end, a lot of explanations has to be given as regards whatever judgment may have been obtained from the Supreme Court.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Bender, people are really agitated that at every level you see the litigants, bringing new dynamics to issues around election. You have had one of the lawyers there saying they are narrowing their, investigation or whatever to membership of political party by Governor Abba Kabiru Yusuf. Is this actually the way to go in our political transition in the country?
Well, you see, the value chain of political activity starts from membership of the party. So you are a party member, you're a registered member, you have a card that says that you are registered at the ward, registered in your local government, and then you are state, and then you are considered a member of the party. And then this is only ordinarily membership. By the time you reach the point of contesting, the party has executives, and these executives are produced through congresses. And from congresses, you can start seeing the tension, even within the party. People want to produce the chairman, the vice chairman, the treasurers, the secretaries, and so on and so on, all the officials. For APC, at the state level, there are 36 members of the ESCO. And I can tell you, I was part of the process in Adamawa State. The tension, even at that level, is very, very heavy. With a bit of luck, if the congresses goes through and everybody settles down, then the party has another clean slate of peace to start with. Now you go to general elections. And, then the party now goes from the congresses to the primaries. So all the people who indicate that they want to participate will now come. If a party is lucky it will have minimum number of contestants, and at that level, the consensus is very, very healthy. But for example, in Adamawa State, we have 8 people contesting for governorship at the primaries. So within the party, if you're not careful, you would have sliced the party into 8 groups. Then you pass the primaries, you go to the general elections, you face the other party. Then all the other parties, you are now in it, INEC will take over. And then the process goes through. Everybody is trying to find a way of winning above the other. By the time you get the results, and then people will now complain. Certainly, the winner will say, I have won. The loser will say, no, I have not lost. I have won because 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is how the whole process is. And I think the followers will also follow suit. And I can tell you the followers who lose will say, no, they have not lost. The followers who win will say, yes, we have won overwhelmingly. And then the struggle goes on and on and on and on. So to me, yes, our democracy is getting stronger and stronger. But these developments, we must learn from it. For me, from experience, I try to contribute to our party to say, the more the party works very hard to ensure that there is transparency in its own registration, there is transparency in its own congresses, there is transparency in its own primaries, the party will end up being very, very strong. And it is that strength that you take to the electorate. You campaign, you make promises, you visit everywhere, every ward, and then you do all these things transparently, and then you come to the general elections. But you see, ours, at every level, we create a tension whereby we lose this credibility, and it's not very helpful.
All right, thank you. Doctor, maybe we should move to the press conference, end of the year press conference by the Minister of Information. Dr. Aminu, I'm now back to you. He said that Nigeria is winning the war on insecurity and they are improving the quality of life of Nigerians. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, to be fair to the government of the day, we have so far that the government has taken over. We've seen quite a tremendous level of improvement in the area of security, especially. This is because if you look at especially the northern part of the country, where raids were going on in the rural areas, by bandits, kidnappers, kidnapping people on the highways, and different existential threats, all over the place. And we also see this, in the southern part of the country, in terms of the activities of gunmen and so on. So we could say that we are beginning to see, a level of control of these issues. And with the seriousness of the appointed security chiefs, both in terms of the, especially the military, the military, and the security services, shows that really a lot is being done, to curtail this menace of insecurity. Although there are still pockets of activities, we have seen recently a resurgence of, these attacks in some areas in Sokoto State and in Zamfara especially. It means that there are some lapses that these security, agencies need to look at and address. But on a whole, you could say, yes, there is a level of improvement in the way that lives and properties are protected in this country. But also looking at, how most of the issues, recently we have had, a problem with the effort of the Nigerian army, to curtail the activities of bandits in those areas where attack had happened. We have seen that lives have mistakenly been taken, and this shows that there is a lot to do still on the part of the surveillance, and the technology used in order to understand what is the difference between the activities of the gunmen and other people that go about their daily business in these villages and rural areas. It's very important because gatherings happen in these places. And if going by what happened only, from the bird eye view, you could just deduce that these are bandits, for example, and just strike on them, then it means that a lot of mistakes will continue to be seen along that line. So I think there is the need to improve in some areas, while we have seen general improvement in the security in the country.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Aminu Hayatu. Yes, Dr. Binder, you served as the National Coordinator, National Social Investment Program. You also serve as Secretary to the State Government in Adamawa State. You have seen it all. I want you to maybe give us your take on some of the issues raised by the Minister of Information today. He said the fuel subsidy removal is meant to better the lives of Nigerians. He said tax reforms, they are meant to better the lives of Nigerians. Price stability, food security, and all that. As someone who is an expert on social security, do you think they are really getting it right?
Well, the bottom line, literally, for the government to try as much as possible to lower the levels of poverty in Nigeria. I can tell you for free that the level of poverty in our country inherited by this government is very, very high. In fact, even the former president and his administration inherited very high levels of poverty, and averaging 43%, meaning out of every 100 Nigerians, 43 are actually facing various serious challenges of poverty. So at the beginning of the administration, when the fuel subsidy was removed, the effect was instant. Everybody saw that the price hike of transportation affected particularly the vulnerable Nigerians. My mother, for example, if she wants to sell her own dawa or her own yogurt or her fresh milk or whatever, if she's to travel from one point in Kekenape to another, certainly the transport fares affects her. And that means she hike the prices of her product. So, and it's seen everywhere. But the government instantly came with the palliative measures, supporting the governors to ensure that they cushion the effects of this. And up till this point, that you can see the president is doing his best to make sure that even the Xmas travels are being subsidized. So poverty, in my experience, is very, very difficult to lower down, because poverty is multi-sectoral. I know a lot of people use the word multidimensional. Multidimensionality of poverty is for measurement, but multi-sectorally is to tell you that absolute poverty levels mean people are not drinking clean water, therefore they are prone to waterborne diseases. They are not eating good food, therefore they are not strong enough and healthy. They are not living in good shelters, therefore they don't sleep very well. They are bound to be weak here and there. They don't have access to good health care when they need it, and therefore they are prone to not just the diseases, but the effect of the disease over a long period of time. And so they don't have skills, therefore they cannot be able to do things to get gainful payment, and so on and so forth. So many factors. So, and these things cannot easily be solved unless you have a synergy. Agriculture alone cannot solve food security problem. It has to work with other sectors. The security system itself cannot solve all the security system. It has to work with other sectors. So our country, in my opinion, needs synergy, needs to break the barriers of all these islands to work together. And I think the administration is doing very well. The NSA is doing very well, as you can see. He is touching literally everywhere to make sure that we have a sanitized, a secured and safe environment. I have heard from the lecture when the Senate President had his own birthday lecture, the lecturer very, very succinctly submitted that unless we now bring in local intelligence, bring in the traditional rulers into it, so that you can be able to have intelligence at the lowest level and be able to know that we must inject technology to ensure that information and communication technology penetrates right down to the bottom, so that there is constant monitoring, evaluation, collecting data, analyzing it, empowering the security councils at the local government level, in the emirates, in the chiefdoms, in the ezedoms, and the obadoms. All this has to come together to make sure that we have a system whereby constantly we are reviewing it on the basis of evidence, and then I think we can then call it Uhuru. The administration is doing their best, and I hope they sustain this and increase the tempo so that we can be able to have, just like the Minister of Information said, an increasing level of performance so that we can be able to deliver a Nigeria of our hope.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Aminu, many believe that
I don't know.
7 months
I have a
is enough
reservation about
for
the distribution
government
of
to make an
palliatives.
impact. More so, immediately they started getting a lot of money from July. Where do you think the federal government is not getting it right? And where do you think the state governors are also not getting it right? Even though they have been getting a lot of money, it hasn't trickled down to the masses. People are crying.
Okay, yes, I was just going to say that I have my own reservation as regards especially the distribution of palliatives.
Share with us, yeah.
have
Share with
always
us,
said
yes.
that the way that we need to go about this as a country is not just by mere distribution of food items. The mode of distribution itself is very much needs to be revisited and reviewed, so that the target will reach those who are really in need of this. Because in the end, what we normally see is using a political structure through political parties, for example, or even the social investment programs. The structure of the social investment program is done in such a way that a lot of corruption is involved. It's not as if these items are not released from the federal or state governments, but do they trickle down to the poorest of the poorest? Do the people who are the targets actually get these things? Is it enough, to take care of their livelihood needs? Because you see people, I have just seen recently distribution of small bags of rice in a mosque, and then the imam and the one who is calling the adhan, the one who is calling the prayer, they are given one sacks each. And then what about the others who come for congregation in the mosque every day? And then there is another level where you see distributions, taking place, but only through the party structure, political party structure. And in the end, what happens is that the chairman of the party, the secretary of the party, and other position holders will just distribute it to themselves and to their relatives. So in the end, it doesn't really, trickle down to the poor. And, the purpose of that program might in the end be defeated. So I'm saying that there is the need for a comprehensive, and thorough plan that will make the distribution effective and the target met. So that in the end of the day, I have a brother who conducted an evaluation of the, social investment program. And the findings he got was that actually the targets are not actually getting these, subsidies as intended by the government. So it's important that if the government wants to move from the stage where we are to another level where people will begin to feel the impacts of these programs, because a lot of money is earmarked for these programs. And if we're not careful, that's how everything will go down the drain without achieving the objectives of the program.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Aminu. Thank you very much, Dr. Benir. We'll take a short break, and when we return, the conversation continues. Viewers, stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
It is a big shame, as far as I'm concerned, that for 3 years, the Nigerian state has failed to give hope to the people of the Niger Delta. the Nigerian government and the oil companies don't care about Nigerians. All they ever care about is the resources being extracted from the area. This is why life expectancy in the Niger Delta is at an abysmal 41 years, one of the lowest anywhere in the world.
Within 3 years to this time now, no more Awoye again.
The rules will be too born.
Before when they come for this Awoye, they come and sorrow. They say they will be selling copying.
You don't know where the fire they come from down. For instance, down how the fire they come from. You don't know. You make the question, they no fit question.
So when you have consistent burning of hydrocarbon, like the one happening in the Ororo oil field, oil well, when you have that, it means that the people who are predominantly fisherfolk and farmers can no longer carry out their trade.
The voices of those people needs to be heard.
Make the government help we. Now die we there for a year.
Welcome back. If you are just joining, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. Two of our guests all joined us virtually. One, Dr. Umar Buba Binder, former National Coordinator, National Social Investment Program, and former Secretary to the State Government in Adamawa State. He joined us from Yola. And Dr. Aminu Hayatu, Senior Lecturer, Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano, also joins us virtually from Kano. Welcome back to the program, gentlemen. Yes, Doctor, you had Dr. Binder, you had Dr. Hayatu talking about social investment, social safety net, social register, and all that. That for palliatives to get to the people, we have to get some of these variables very well. I remember when President Tinubu announced palliative, the governors kicked, they said they have their own register. They don't want the national register. Why do you think some governors, or I mean all the governors, want to do things their way instead of following the template at the national level?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I was involved trying to clear that debate. You see, Nigeria is still struggling on how to recognize the various layers of government and how to break the barriers and ensure that we synergize for efficiency. The federal government is right at the top. The federal government does not have anybody unless they go to the states and then they hit another government. So the state government too is dedicated. We have 36 states and FCT. So now it's broken into 36 and FCT. When you go to the state, there's a governor who is a chief executive mimicking the position of the president. He has his budget, he has his cabinet, he has his team. He too does not have people unless he drops down to the local government. You know, when you hit the local government, you meet the chief executive too, the chairman of the local government, right? So he has his own tiny little territory or constituency. In Adamawa, there are 21 of them. In the whole country, there are 774. These local government chairmen, they are guided legislatively by the ward councillors, meaning that the local government again is broken into tinier pieces called the wards, and there are nearly 10,000 of those in our country. What we have failed to do as a country to make sure that we have progress is, how do you get the ward? That is where the people are. I know every single ward councillor, he knows the people in his ward by name. So he knows where there is death, He knows where some young people have fought. He knows where there is burglary the previous night. So that is the clarity at that level. To overlay that political structure, then you have the traditional system again. You have, for example, in the north, the emir. He has his own territory, that emirate. But that emirate is broken down into districts. You have district heads who are now dedicatedly looking at the district. Even that district is broken down into villages. You have village heads. Even that village is broken down into wards. You have the Mayangwas. So again, when you come to the ward level, traditionally, the Mayangwa knows everybody by name. He knows where there's birth, where there's death, where there's everything. So what we have failed to is to take these two leadership layers that have got very clear constituencies and territories, break these constituencies so that we can consolidate. So what happened with the National Social Register is that it is not a federal social register. It is a national social register. The federal government does not generate any register. It is the states that has the registers, and at the federal office, they now combine all the state registers to form the National Social Register. So at that point, when the argument was there, when some governors were saying that they don't like the federal register and they like the state registrar, it's actually an anomaly. There is no national, there's no federal register at all. But again, there are many other reasons. In my explanation, I thought the governors don't like the federal government to go down with resources to the states. They say, federal government, you don't have anybody in the state, give us the resources so that we can go and do that. It has always been like that. But the thing to do is that the register, as far as I'm concerned technically, is one of the best things that has happened in this country for fighting poverty. I was a director in FIP under Abacha. I saw the poverty culture. I was a director in the NAPEP under Obasanjo. I saw the poverty culture, and then I became the National Social Investment Program Coordinator. The National Social Register is the way to go. If you want to know what you have, assess your reach, assess the effectiveness and the impact, you must have a digital representation, and that is data. So, but again, they said there will be verifications and so on and so forth. As we speak, I haven't got a clue whether the verifications have verified, whether it has been concluded, whatever. But now, coming back to what Dr. Aminu said, social investment program is totally based on very sharp targeting. Empower as a cluster. Nobody gives anybody a form. No politician is involved. Every young person who wants to participate on Empower goes to the platform on the computer, and then they register there. So there's no distribution. The second thing, school feeding. School feeding does not have any political sensitivity. The government said target all public primary schools, classes 1, 2, 3. And I have not seen any public primary school that has been avoided. 3, the JEEP, which is to do with the credit. Again, the JEEP, the registration is done manually, but it's at the local government, and it is free. No political interference. The conditional cash transfer, it is based on households, not individuals. So it is households that are poor. And when I left the program, there were like nearly 60 million individual poor in 12 million households. The data is there. So the targeting is very sharp. However, whatever you do in this country, somehow some political interference will come in. But I think it's very, very minimal. But the resources required is the issue. It's very, very heavy. Very quickly, I give you an example. Empower, for example, the one for graduates. We have nearly 20 to 30 million graduates walking the streets of Nigeria. If you take only 1 million and you are paying them the minimum wage of 30,000, that 1 million every month, the stipend bill is 30 billion. Wow. In 10 months, it's 300 billion. It's not like there's a huge amount of money. A lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, there's a lot of money. The bill alone takes everything. So you have to be very, very sharp. So poverty is a problem in this country. And I think this administration inherited the social investment program, inherited the Ministry of Humanitarian ministry. I think the minister is doing her best to ensure that she coordinates all these activities, and the social investment program is how an agency is trying to take off, and I think they need time to settle down before we can be able to see the effectiveness of the sharpness
Thank
of
you very much, Dr. Bender. Dr. Aminu, people have started complaining already with the 50% rebate from government, federal government for people traveling for Christmas. That already, if you go to Motor Park, for instance, Naibawa in Kano, they said they are not even aware of something like that. It is for luxury buses. Do you think government got it wrong again?
Well, I think it could have been a very nice idea if there was effective communication across the country, because, as you said, many people are not aware of this, sort of subsidy, for travels. And what the government would have done was to effectively communicate this, much earlier, so that people will prepare ahead of time, in consideration of the notice. And then the information will rarely travel far into the stratus of society, so that people will really take into consideration the fact that they are targeting this this form of subsidy and assistance. But I think most of what happens when there is an initiative by the government is that, we have the National Orientation Agency, we have the communication agencies all across federal and state governments and so on. But because there is lack of, synergy between these communication agencies and, the mode of modus operandi of passing message, by the government, most of the people are taken unaware, and they are not aware of this. But it's a good initiative, and I think it would have gone a long way, in relieving the people, as they travel far and wide, throughout the country. So, going forward, what should be is that, it's not difficult in Nigeria. 1 minute, if you have a message, it can go down to the most remotest of areas if the government wants it to reach. But somehow, some people saddled with the responsibility of, transmitting these messages and making them to get to the ears of the people, choose what they want to, choose the message they want to send, or choose to prioritize the message they want to prioritize, for some reasons. So I think that, yes, if you in Kano, there are many people that didn't even know that the government has provided such, relief means for travel. And then in many parts of, in the villages I had in Kaduna, and in many even parts of, the middle belt, this information really didn't trickle down to the people. But it's a good initiative. And I think that the date, the target date, for termination, which I think is it 4th or 5th of January? I think is really because some people would want to would want to stay beyond that time, So I think the timing also need to be looked at and reconsidered. Perhaps it may benefit more people than the few that would benefit from it if they are to come, back to their places of work.
All right,
by
thank you. Thank you, Dr. Aminu.
Yes,
Dr. Aminu, you served as the National Office, DG National Office for Technology Acquisition and Innovation. Federal government officials, they were agog last night. Port Harcourt refinery has come to stay finally, according to them. Do you believe them? Because on many occasions they will say, okay, they have commissioned a project only for you to hear a, graveyard silence thereafter.
Well, I think it's good news. I think it's good news. It will revive the morale of Nigerians. But Nigeria, again, has to understand that a country that has over 250 conventional universities, a mixture of public federal universities, public state universities, and private universities, coughing out graduates, having professors, PhD holders everywhere, must be very serious with technology and capacity. When we talk about these minor things, and we portray the brand of our country as if to say we are totally disorganized is not good. The refinery is a technological package. First of all, it does not have too much mechanics, but it's a mechanical arrangement. It is chemistry in the process of the refining. And then you have a lot of logistic requirements. So to be able to deliver this, I can tell you the amount of technology that you require is beyond what you can think of. But let me shock you. As former Director General of NOTAP, I can tell you there is hardly one single complex technology-based system in Nigeria that is either totally run by Nigerians or that is actually being operated using Nigerian technology. Nearly 100% of these entities, including banks, including the ICT, the telecommunications, and even the petroleum sector, the technology is totally foreign and is very expensive to Nigerians. My job at NOTAP at that time was to give certification for repatriating funds for technologies that we're using. And Nigerians don't even know this. When I went to NOTAP, it was already a 30-year-old agency. People never heard of it, So we must be able to also reflect and see the connectivity of our technology institutions, our research institutions, our research efforts with our own development. And if we can do that, running a refinery will not be difficult. Turning around to maintain a refinery will not be difficult. But each time we do it, you find that we're running out of Nigeria, looking for expertise, looking for technology, which is very, very expensive. But what they have done now is okay. They are ensuring that we are running the refinery. I hope that it is here to stay. But certainly the message is that Nigeria has to wake up to ensure that we too, we can be able to be very serious with our engineers. We should be very, very serious with our technocrats. We should be very serious with our workshops and laboratories so that we can be able to produce the critical mass of human capital to run these technology-based institutions. So very, very quickly, based on the transportation that Dr. Hayatu mentioned, I am telling you, again, it's a signal. It's a good initiative from the federal government, but I can tell you the importance of data. I mean, by now, the National Union of Road Transport Workers should have been part of it, and we should have had a database somewhere to know every single transport company, small or big, every single tasha, if you know what I mean, where these buses take people and send people, so that when federal government or state government launches this type of thing, you just fix it like it is a socket. But each time we do it, targeting, like Dr. Aminu said, becomes very difficult because we don't build data. We don't sustain data. We don't manage data. And data is key. Now we are getting into artificial intelligence system. Without data, we cannot mainstream our activities. So we have to, instead of just politicking on everything, to technicalize things too. And I can tell you data is key.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Aminu, we have run out of time, so I just want your final take on how government should fine-tune its policies so that the poor will feel the impact of all of these interventions. This should be in less than 1 minute, please.
Hello? Dr. Aminu, you're muted.
Yeah. It's like Dr. Aminu is muted. Maybe now, let's have yours. Final take, Dr. Bindir. What government should do in the interim so that the people will feel the impact of all these interventions? This should be in less than 1 minute because we have run out of time.
I think the government is already 6 months old. I encourage the government to facilitate synergy, not just between the ministers and the ministries, but between the federal and the state government. Synergy is key. When you synergize and you use data, it is easy to see clearly where you are heading to. It is easy to be transparent and accountable, and it is easy to actually measure the impact of your strategies. And then intensely, government also should strengthen monitoring, evaluation, and impact assessment so that we know where we are going and whether we are going correctly or not.
All right, Dr. Umar Buba Binder, former National Coordinator, National Social Investment Program, former Secretary to the Adamawa State Government, former Director General, National Office for Technology Acquisition and Innovation. We thank you for coming to the program and for your informed perspective. And we have to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, and we lost audio from the end of Dr. Aminu Hayatu, Senior Lecturer, Department of Political Science. Doctor, we want to thank you once again for being part of the program. And viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. We sincerely hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join Daily Politics Live, airing every weekday, and also our special package on Friday, during which we open our telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Once again, thank you for watching. Bye-bye for now. I'm Hamza Idris.